Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Sex and Suicide Podcast. We are doing episode number 2. It is Woman Crush Wednesday. And I'm here with my co-host Vinny Chase, who is our tech guy. He's doing a wonderful job. We believe we're streaming live on Facebook. Don't count on that just yet. I don't know if that's true, but we think we are. And we've got little Miss Chris here, who is our Woman Crush of the Week.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Great.
Good. We figured that we'd start off Woman Crush Wednesday with one of the regulars that's going to be on the show. And little Miss Chris is going to be here. I appreciate you doing this.
No worries.
I understand that when you are the focus of a podcast and there's cameras on you, even if there's not many people watching, we don't know yet, it can be intimidating.
Of course.
So how are you feeling?
A little nervous, but I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. And we've got another guest, kind of surprise guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, sorry, my name is Brendan.
Okay. And Brandon's an observer tonight. So we want to encourage people in London, Ontario. Obviously, this isn't about me. This is about you guys. We want to make this about the guests that come on. Everybody has a story. For Woman Crush Wednesday, our whole sort of idea here is to try to get women to come on, discuss today's topics that are driving them nuts, typically fucking men. So that's the main thing that we're going to go for. How are you enjoying the single life, little Miss Chris? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your history right now?
Sure.
Sure.
I was in a relationship for almost 5 years.
Okay.
And recently single.
Recently single.
So it's been about 4 months now.
And how are you finding your wings again?
You know, everyone asks me that, and the only word I can get to is just weird.
Weird?
Everything is just weird.
Do you find that after a 5-year relationship, everything has changed considerably since you were single? What are you feeling?
You know, at this point, I mean, I haven't really put myself out there yet.
Okay.
So I'm still trying to focus on myself.
Sure.
I mean, after being with someone for 5 years, you have to try to find yourself again.
Absolutely.
You know, I became somebody in the relationship. Not that that's a bad thing, because, you know, it changed and I was willing to compromise, and you compromise a lot of things, which in turn change you.
Sure.
But right now, at this point, it's just all about me.
Right.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Feels great.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're finding yourself again, or even better,
Slowly.
like a new you,
Definitely.
potentially?
I don't want to say new you yet.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly I'm starting to discover things that, you know, I might have lost, things that I enjoyed doing that I didn't get to do when I was in the relationship.
Sure.
Not that it held me back, but again, the compromise. So you put away things that don't fit the relationship. So, you know, you do things a lot together. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's always about two people.
Sure.
And now it's just me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
having to, you know, understand that again, it's taking some time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of taking your time to get to where you need to be before you put
Definitely.
yourself out there again.
Definitely.
I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
There's always the other way to go, right? Which is just kind of
Jump right into it.
Jump right into it. The best way to get over someone is to get under someone,
Exactly.
right? I've never found that philosophy to work personally, but I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
What do you think, Vinny Chase?
Yeah,
you guys spend a lot of
absolutely.
time together, so
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. Yeah, and no, I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
So already tons of empowerment for
Right.
little Miss Chris.
Of course.
What do you want to see happen? I mean, I've got a general idea, and I really would like the contribution of everyone that's kind of watching. I see when you and I first started hanging out when you became single again, it was great because I saw women would come over. We'd all have, well, not myself because obviously I'm sober, but you guys would have glasses of wine, and I really liked the girl chat. I liked the feminine energy that was around the house.
Definitely.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I see Woman Crush Wednesdays maybe focusing in on one or two people,
Yeah.
especially those that might have a story to share.
Yeah.
But also people coming around and being able to, like Brandon here, to kind of be spectators.
Yeah.
And what would you like to see out of an empowerment Wednesday for anyone that would like to come on the show?
Well, in a relationship or not, I feel like everybody should share their story.
Sure.
And I feel like everybody's story is important.
Yeah,
Just
I agree.
as important as yours and mine. You know, I myself may not feel like my story is that interesting, but to others, it is interesting.
Right.
And, you know, I've talked to a couple of women that kind of went through the same thing that I went through, and that was really enlightening to know that I wasn't by myself. And the choice that I made, it wasn't out of perspective. Like, what I did for myself was okay. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I questioned it for a really long time, and I still question it. Every day I question it. But
Sure.
I know that it was right for me. And I want women to understand, if you make a decision, stick to it. Because I've made this decision before and I went back.
Right.
And
I think that happens a lot.
It
I feel like that
happens a lot.
I feel like that does. They kind of, a lot of women, and I'm sure there's men that do the same thing, but they know that the situation isn't right for them.
That's right.
And they'll kind of dip their feet in the water a little bit.
Definitely.
But the moment that they don't feel comfortable, which is usually the time when you're going to make the most gains in growth, they pull their feet out of the pool and they go back to what was comfortable for them.
Sure.
So kudos to you for figuring out that it wasn't for you and having the strength to leave that situation. I think that's very strong and admirable.
Thank you.
So admirable. I guess is the word. So do you mind sharing a little bit about what happened? Like when you say you talk to other women
Yeah.
and your story is helping them story, what part in particular? And we're not here.
Realistically, the part is just leaving.
Yeah.
Period.
So just gathering the strength and the courage to leave when you knew it wasn't right.
And you know, a big part of it for me was, I'm not one to, and I've never been one to want sympathy from others.
Sure.
I don't cry on people's shoulders. I rarely cry. So I just didn't want everyone looking at me like, oh, poor her. Like,
Sure.
now she's single at this age. What are you going to do now? So that part was really hard for me to swallow.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to...
Do you want to share your age or are you okay? You're
No,
behind?
I already did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm 33.
Okay, sure.
So...
As am I, for anyone curious.
Yeah.
We're the oldest ones in the room, I believe.
Yes, I think we are.
Yeah, no problem. Still young.
And that was hard for me too, to, you know, I don't know, just to think that, again, I'm going to be single now at 33, and the fact to start all over again is just going to be, you know, and I think about going on dates and someone asking me, so tell me something interesting about yourself.
Sure.
And I sit there and I'm like, okay, well, what do I really have to share with somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, I work, I come home, yes, obviously, like, I have interests,
Yeah.
and, you know, I do activities, but for someone to ask me that in specific, I'm actually really nervous to go back into the dating world.
Really? How do you think
and to get comfortable again to share things like that, because where I was with, you know, in the relationship that I was in, I felt like we knew everything about each other.
Right.
And obviously that took time.
Sure.
So to start all over again really makes me nervous.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
But it's exciting too, right? It can be when you start to get those feelings again.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major misconception in our society today, is that people think that good things don't happen to them twice almost. It's just like, if it happened to me once, maybe I won't have it again. And sometimes that gives them reason to hold on.
Right.
Not that holding on is a bad thing if they're typical relationship problems that everybody's going to have. I think that there's a lot of people that give up too early as well. But 5 years, you put in your time.
I did.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
go
Do you
ahead.
think that has anything to do with maybe a more romantic notion of love that's kind of
Changed?
seeped into culture through things like, you know, movies and Disney and all
What-
that
what
stuff,
do you
where-
mean?
Well, you know, you have this romantic notion of love where you meet the one, right?
Sure.
That's it.
So, well, I don't really. I think everybody's different in that sense, right?
Right.
But if the love is there, like I don't think that this is what I'm getting at. In today's society, with apps like Tinder and Bumble and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
People are it's too easy to see who's chomping at the bit, and people kind of turn their back and want to see that the grass might be greener on the other side, but instead of trying to water their own first,
Right.
they jump across to that other fucking backyard before they even give it a shot. And that's something that's disappointing, because I do like to see, I think I am kind of a romantic at heart, and obviously I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I want to make sure that she gets the kind of love that my parents had. I don't know if I will, but you know, I want the best for her, and I want to believe that exists.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's validation almost.
It's what?
I think it's validation. I mean, everyone nowadays goes to, they're having problems in the relationship, right? So they have a problem with your significant other, and they're like, all right, well, what can I do? I post an Instagram photo and I get 300 likes.
Absolutely.
And I mean, to them, that means that they're valued.
Sure.
But at the same time, that value that they're assuming from that doesn't mean anything.
That's true. Well, you make a really good point because I see on Instagram it happens everywhere. You see people posting, obviously they're clearly photos for attention.
Right.
And if, like, people sometimes will say to me, oh, I have more followers than you. And I said, great, that's like being fucking rich in Monopoly money. Good for you. What do I care, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm still a firm believer that I'd rather have quality than quantity.
Definitely.
And I agree with what you're saying. I think there's too much of this artificial validation going on where people need likes are almost like the likes by social media likes
Right.
are similar to taking an antidepressant.
Or drugs.
Yeah, or drugs. Yeah, it can all be kind of put in the same category. So good point. He's not just a pretty face, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Thank you.
With your alcohol and my cheers. There you go. Or my tea. So, Vinny Chase, let's talk about you for a minute, bud. What did you think about everything that Christine had to say? Because you always have some interesting insights.
Well, I thought that, it makes sense. Like, I'd be scared to go back. I'm already scared to date.
Yeah, how's your single life going?
Good.
Okay,
I don't mind being single.
you are on, you don't mind me saying this, but
No.
you're on Bumble, right?
Yeah, I'm on several dating apps.
Are you really?
I have been, yeah, over the course of the past year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
So would you say Bumble is your favorite app?
If I had to pick between Bumble and Tinder, yeah, I would pick Bumble.
You pick Bumble? Okay. Why is that?
Just because I think there's a this is my opinion, but I think there's a higher caliber woman that you find on Bumble, just because of the way that Bumble works, where it's the women who initiate the messaging,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have these situations that Tinder creates where you have one girl that gets messaged by like 600, no, 200 dudes. Let's not exaggerate too much. But
It's probably not that far of an exaggeration.
yeah, maybe. But I feel like a lot of girls just go on Tinder just for that validation that you're talking about,
True.
Brandon. Where they just go on there and it's like, okay, let's see how many matches I can rack up. Whereas if you are taking the initiative to message someone first, like Bumble allows, then you're going to be looking for something. It's a much more I'm looking for something type app versus let's just see what can happen.
Okay.
That's what.
Versus basically a hookup app.
Right.
So how do you feel that apps like Tinder and this, or do you feel they're affecting relationships? It's maybe easier to penetrate a relationship than it once was? Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it has a ton of effects. Like, I think it, first of all, it makes it kind of trivializes dating in a sense, because you can just swipe through hundreds of people on a daily basis. So
It's pretty superficial, isn't it?
yeah, it makes it a bit superficial. I think there's some positive things too. Like there's a positive side to that, right? Now you can see 100 people a day, right?
I guess.
So,
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I don't do that. Eventually, you and I have talked about having some fun down the road and creating, like you and I, maybe we do some contest or something,
Right.
and I get to create your Tinder profile,
Right.
and you get to create mine, and you,
Right.
you get to set up the
Right.
dates and shit. And
But
we
we
can-
have to go.
yeah, something fun like that, right?
Yeah.
Because that way we're totally blind to it. We have to go on the date.
Right.
Maybe something happens. Maybe I'm totally proved wrong.
Hey,
I think
I'm not against that either.
you want. All right.
Yeah,
I happily set up your Tinder
Yeah.
profile for
I'd be
you.
okay with that.
Speaking of which, guys, I have to. This is what I want Brandon to do for me.
Oh.
So,
There we go.
yesterday I started after our first podcast that we did. You guys will find this interesting. That I was 69. Nice.
That's your number.
That's my number. So, anyways, we did our first podcast on Monday night, and it ended up being more of a live sort of viewing show than anything else. This is a little more podcast sort of centered, but after that, I woke up the next morning.